Hello. I made a video about the apparent discovery of dangerous bio research going on in Ukraine, and I got a lot of comments, a lot of them quite reasonable. Why doesn't Demirep stick to stuff she really knows about? And I freely admit I am not a biologist. I'm not a forensic scientist, but I have worked in the media and I have worked in universities, and I know how both of those work, and I also know how the media can skew news to make it look like something is going on that isn't going on. So, for instance, in my video I say they might have found a piece of mouldy toast, and they can legitimately say they are keeping mycotoxins in this laboratory. And that sort of thing happens all the time. And you notice it with news as well. You'll notice that for some reason, like there's a lot of handbag snatching from old ladies. Suddenly, there's a lot of news talking about old ladies having their handbags snatched. You'd think there's an epidemic. There was a thing about dogs biting kids a few years ago, and every bit of news that came out was headed by some kid that had got bitten by a dog that day. And it looked like suddenly all the dogs in the United Kingdom had gone absolutely crazy. It was a sort of fashionable subject. Now, it's not like there's an agenda. I mean, sometimes there is, but very often you get these news editors and they're interested in dog bites, or they've heard some stories about dog bites, and then a dog bite story comes up and they think, oh, well, we'll put that in because that's what people are thinking about. And so those sorts of things happen all the time, and we have to be aware of that and wary of that. Now, I was talking about how the Russians suddenly say they found bioweapons or that sort of thing, and I said you have to be a little bit careful about it because it's just how it can be skewed. And I made that video a couple of days ago, actually, but because of Tucker Carlson talking about a question which had been put to some American spokeswoman or politician or whatever about bio stuff, and she refused to answer it, or she said we don't have anything dangerous, something like that. So Carlson was encouraged to say that, oh yeah, we're funding all sorts of dangerous research going on in Ukraine. We don't know. The American authorities say, no, we're not doing any dangerous research. One person refused to say we're not doing any research. That's a different thing. Because, you see, universities are doing research all the time. So that is what I was concentrating on in my video. As I said, I made it a couple of days ago. And then, because of the Tucker Carlson thing, I thought I'd better wait and see if anything new crops up. And as a matter of fact, not much has. Except I got this comment underneath one of my videos, when I did put it up, saying, I wish Demi would stick to stuff she knows about. Well, blow me down. Not half an hour after that, I found this article in the Daily Mail. And it says here, Russian biologist turns on Putin's propaganda claiming US-funded Ukrainian biowarfare labs. So you see, it's not just me who is being a bit careful about this. And this guy has his life on the line when he does this. He is a Russian biologist in Russia. It's incredibly dangerous that he's going against the narrative. The fact that he is doing that probably means that he feels that this is dangerous information that's being put out by Russia that could lead to catastrophic consequences, not in biowarfare, but in the excuse to take life. Okay, so I'm going to read you some of this. A Moscow microbiologist has accused the Kremlin Kremlin of pure lies and propaganda in claiming Ukraine had secret US-funded biowarfare labs which they claim could attack Russia. I did say that, I'll give you an example of anthrax because that's something everyone's afraid of. Assume I'm a microbiologist and I'm at King's College in London and I am studying anthrax. I might be reading papers or exchanging emails with somebody in New York who's also studying anthrax. I could be actually talking to somebody in, let's say, Beijing. And then later on, somebody could say, you were discussing a dangerous pathogen with an enemy of this country. Well, that's not the way universities work. And you have to remember that. The reason we can find cures for diseases, vaccines and strategies is we have the ability to discuss things with the entire university community, medical communities all the way around the world. That is the good side and the bad side. And so when somebody says there's been connection between somebody in country X and somebody in country Y, who is our implacable enemy, that doesn't mean to say they're planning the death of the world. It just means to say they're two bunches of academics who are pooling thought on a certain thing. Anyway, let's get on with this. On Tuesday, Russia repeated its accusation of several years that Ukrainian laboratories are developing biological weapons, spearheading claims that diseases like plague or the Black Death and anthrax were illegally researched in Ukraine. They also alleged a plot by Ukraine to use birds, bats and reptiles. There's a video, I don't think I can find it now. If I can, I'll freeze and I'll play it, where some totally nutty Russian spokesman says that America is, or Ukraine is, I don't know what, training birds to take biological hazards to Russia. I mean, this is Muller nuttery. Okay, anyway, this guy, Russia's foreign ministry spokesperson Maria Zakharova making the assertion as recently as Wednesday. Zakharova claimed that Russia was in possession of documents which showed that the Ukrainian health ministry had ordered the destruction of samples of plague, cholera, anthrax and other pathogens before the 24th of February. Well, it's possible they did. But that would only be because that could only be because they're researching this, and then they don't want these pathogens to fall into Russian hands. But Moscow State University microbiologist Dr. Yevgeny Levitin analysed the documentation allegedly seized by the invasion force and strongly criticised the Russian claims. From a scientific perspective, he says the claims are absurd fakes and a deliberate lie which is not justified in any way. So, you see, I had it right. I had it right in as much as I was doubtful about these claims, and this is a microbiologist with his whole career, if not his life, on the line by pointing this out. In a sign of rising dissent in Moscow over the war, he went public with his critique and wrote an open letter with other unnamed graduates of his top university to major state and other pro-Kremlin media outlets in Russia, which had trumpeted the bioweapons allegations from the country's defense ministry. They publish pure lies. This is a deliberate lie which is not justified in any way. Okay. So, you see, the Kremlin's accusation came after the White House warned on Wednesday that Russian President Vladimir Putin could deploy chemical or biological weapons in the country. You see, it's not like Putin hasn't used chemical weapons of various sorts already. So the fact that the White House would say it's possible he might do that, it's possible. And they counter that immediately with accusations of Ukraine a sort of a sort of a bio lab of a country just waiting to explode into all sorts of horrible diseases and illnesses. Oh, this is the nutcase here. Russian Defense Ministry spokesman Igor Konashenkov said in a televised briefing that the purpose of this and other Pentagon-funded biological research in Ukraine was to establish a mechanism for the stealthy spread of deadly pathogens. This is really nuttery, and we all should realise that. This is over-the-top nuttery. In the broadcast, Konashenkov said Russian specialists from the Radiation, Chemical and Biological Protection Troops studied documents about handing over at the US representative's order human biomaterials to foreign states. Handing over human biomaterials could be something as simple as what do you call it? A DNA test. They could have DNA testing facilities there. I mean, that's all that could mean. I'm not saying it isn't. And I'm not saying America is absolutely pure on this. What I am saying is there are a lot of accusations coming out of Russia and backed up by China on Russia's documents that don't actually make any sense. Specialist interest was raised by detailed information about the plan by the USA, get this, to study carrying pathogens from Ukraine by wild birds migrating between Ukraine, Russia and other neighbouring countries. I seem to remember some time that Egypt, there was a shark. I think it was in the Red Sea near the a coastal resort. And they insisted it had been trained by Israel to attack tourists. And you think, well, all right, people in Muslim countries tend to believe all sorts of wild theories. So that's just something that happens there. This is a Russian spokesman. What is he? A defense ministry spokesman. And he's here in a uniform. And he's coming up with stuff like that. This is really unbelievable. Okay, well, I don't know. I get some complete nutters looking in on my channel from time to time. They don't stay very long, but sometimes they do make really nutty comments. So maybe they won't find it so unbelievable. As the documents show, the laboratories in Ukraine, financed by the US, held experiments on bat coronavirus. I said that in my previous video. Bat coronavirus is a simple thing. They use those all the time. It's gain of function that you've got to worry about, and they don't say anything about that. The purpose of this and other Pentagon-financed biological research, notice how he puts in Pentagon finance there, in Ukraine was the creation of a mechanism for the secret spread of deadly pathogens. As I have previously said, when you spread deadly pathogens, you can never know whether they won't turn round and bite you in the arse. So you don't do it. Nobody with any sense does. The paperwork attached to the Russian allegations show laboratories existed in Poltava and Kharkiv, but they were not involved in bio-warfare, contrary to the claims of Konashenkov, Russia's frontman on the war. Dr. Levitin said, the pathogens under research were not potential bioweapons. Research is research. They are used in any epidemiological institute, in any microbiological laboratory, even in any sanitary and epidemiological station where samples are sown, he said. Dr. Levitin said there was nothing in the documentation at all to back up Russian claims that the plague, anthrax, tularemia or cholera were being researched as bioweapons. He added, this is a complete lie in its purest form. Plague, anthrax, tularemia, cholera, none of this is in the published documents. The calculation is simply that people do not read either Ukrainian or Latin and do not know the names of pathogens. That's how propaganda works. The Ministry of Defence made a false, unfounded statement, and now, if I talk to people, 90% of them will say bioweapons were made in Ukraine. Okay, so this is the opinion of this Dr. Levitin, and he may be wrong. But I don't think he is. I don't think anyone at his rank with his job would go into public with this sort of a statement if he wasn't 100% sure of himself, because for sure he's going to lose his job and he might even end up in jail. So that's it. So you guys who said, I don't know what I'm talking about, well, I do. I do because, not because I'm a microbiologist, but because I know about the media and I know about universities. And I got it right. And this guy has backed me up. So there you are. Let's stop getting hysterical about this. There may yet be something there. But at the moment, there is absolutely no proof of it. And that's as far as we can go. Just allegations from Russia, unproven, unfounded allegations. So far, nada, nothing. Absolutely nil, nix, nout, as we say in Yorkshire. All right, well, that's my message for today. And I'm Graniopteryx. I am to be found on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute and Minds. I let you know when I've uploaded a video on my on Twitter, Gab and Parler, and that my handle there is @Graniopteryx. So if you subscribe to one of those, you'll always get notifications, because you're not likely to get them from if you're on YouTube. Please click the like button, subscribe, share the video. Oh, please share this video. It is so important. I think I've got that about right now. Okay, till next time. Why not treat yourself or a favoured relative or friend to these magnificent examples of merch? The mugs and t-shirts come in the Graniopteryx design or Granbo with a firearm or the more deadly knitting needles. Go to www.graniopteryx.com and whatever platform you're watching this on, please click like, subscribe and share, share, share.